Now, as it is every year, one of the most moving parts of the program, especially for me, is really having the honor of introducing our client speaker. Real impact is best viewed through the eyes of KSARC's clients. And when you hear what has brought them to the organization and then you see who they have become, in this case, a very bright, capable, gregarious young woman, all the result of hard work with KSARC's talented staff, you will see KSARC as a rebuilder, as a hope maker, and as a loud advocate for the promise of amazing futures. So please help me welcome Melissa. Melissa?
Good morning, everyone. I'm very honored to be here in front of all of you today. And I have a very important question. It's really early. Who's had their coffee? Yes? Good. Many of you. Okay, I would like to share my story with you today. I grew up in Argentina with my mother, father, and 3 siblings. We were very poor and we struggled to get by. When I was 3 years old, my uncle, my dad's brother, moved in with us. Shortly after he moved in, he began sexually abusing me, and I was only 4 years old. A time in my life where I should be a carefree, happy child instead became the start of me having flashbacks, nightmares, and not being able to trust anyone. At one point after he had raped me, he looked at me in the eye and said, "If you tell anyone about the rape, I'll kill the whole family and take you where nobody will ever find you." I was only 4 years old. I didn't know any better. I believed him. And then the abuse continued for another year. Since we struggled so much to get by in Argentina, my father decided to move to the States to find better work for more money. My aunt here in Washington took all 6 of us in. Elementary school was hard for me. I always felt as if I was not like the other kids. Always scared, never trusting anyone, and always looking around me as if something bad was going to happen. The summer before my 8th grade year, another uncle, my mother's brother, moved during the States from Chile. My uncle was someone I always loved and someone I always trusted and someone who I've always been close to from a young age. I knew I was his favorite. As time went by, we only seemed to get closer, and eventually we would be alone. He began to sexually abuse me, and I was only 12. After dealing with another second abuser for another long year, my uncle moved back to Chile, and I did what I only knew, which was sweep it under the rug and move on. The effects of the abuses were hard to ignore. I acted out in school. I didn't care about anything or anyone. I failed classes and had multiple relationships with the wrong boys. My sophomore year of high school, I met a remarkable boy. He was such a gentleman, and I had never had a guy treat me as well as he did. I trusted him, so shortly after, I told him about the abuses, and it was nice to lessen my burdens. But telling someone about the abuses didn't make him hurt any less. I felt a heavy pain. There was a night I felt so empty I just wanted to die. July 1st, I called my boyfriend at the time, crying, and told him how I was done with life. I tried to commit suicide, but before I knew it, an ambulance arrived at my door. I was taken to the hospital, and my mom and older brother arrived shortly after. I was really scared to see my mom. She's always been someone who has a very tough personality and is very hard to talk to, and she's someone I knew that wouldn't believe me. But she was actually shocked and worried, and she did believe me. When I got home, my uncle showed up. Eventually, my whole family was in my living room. My mom told me to confront my uncle about what he did to me, and he denied everything. My mother chose to believe him, and shortly after, my whole family followed. They all thought I was a liar, and I felt very humiliated and alone. My mom began telling me how I was destroying the family and how I just wanted attention. I had never felt so low in my life. It wasn't too long before I was placed into foster care. I was an emotionally damaged teenager who would yell and disrespect my foster family, and my foster parents are amazing and loving people. They didn't give up on me, and they are my parents, and they have been my greatest supporters through this journey. I love you, Mom and Dad. They began driving me to KSARC, where I was teamed up with a male counselor, and I was not okay with this. So I constantly fought my foster parents, but eventually they convinced me to give this man a shot. I entered the office of Juan Carlos, and first thing I noticed, man, this guy smiles way too much. I didn't talk my first couple of sessions, but Juan Carlos did not give up on me. He kept trying to communicate, and finally I began to talk to him. With each session, I felt how we were tearing down this wall I had built. Juan Carlos changed my life. He didn't look at me as a hopeless cause. He looked at me as a fighter, a survivor, constantly telling me my worth and telling me how brave I was. He is the reason I have a different perspective on my life and my abilities today. While in counseling, I was also facing my uncle in court, going to interviews and having to tell my story over and over again. Entering a world of prosecutors was unknown to me, and I was very intimidated and scared. I did not know what to do or expect, but that's when KSARC then provided me with another person who I forever hold dear to my heart, and her name is Martha McGinnis. She became my legal advocate, and she also became my friend. Always by my side through the interviews and through the court dates, reminding me constantly how brave I was, and always making me feel that comfort. She definitely made a difference. The day came I had to testify, and to this day I can say it's the hardest thing I've ever had to do. Martha was the reason I was able to get through the trial, and my uncle was found guilty and sentenced to 9 years. I was done, it was over. Because of the amazing work of Martha and Juan Carlos, I can stand here today and say my biggest problem is balancing school and family. Finally, things a normal teenager has to deal with. Ever since I have finished my treatment at KSARC, the true person I am has been able to shine through. I could not look at anyone in the eye before, and now I make eye contact with ease, as you can see. I never trusted anyone, and I was very quiet and shy. And now I'm very outgoing, and my friends make fun of me, telling me I know everybody. I am no longer that silent little girl who is afraid to speak about what had happened. And I no longer wake up in the middle of the night because of nightmares. I found my strength, I found my voice, I found my worth, I'm finally free. KSARC is the reason for my transformation. KSARC took my case, giving me a chance at a whole new life. Because of KSARC, I was able to get through court with supporters every step of the way. Because of KSARC, I was given the resources I needed to succeed. Because of KSARC, I found my worth, knowing I never have to settle for anything less, but to always go above and beyond. Because of KSARC, I am here today with confidence to share my story. KSARC helped me understand how much I matter and how my abuse is not what defines me. I know I will still face many barriers in my life, but I will do them as a stronger person with the faith that there is always hope. Because of KSARC, I was able to end the history of silence in my family. And because of KSARC, I am a survivor. Thank you.
Lived through as a child, nor by my despair as a young adult. My therapist sat with me week after week, heard my story without recoiling. They walked with me through immense darkness, helped me to reveal and remember more and more. In fact, that office became my sanctuary of healing. I learned to be vulnerable as I told my secrets. In fact, unlocking the power of my secrets by telling them is one of the most freeing and healing steps I have ever taken. I think it's especially important for men to understand this. Far too often, we remain silent and suppress the pain. We falsely think, no one else has experienced this, so I better keep my mouth shut. Well, that's not true, men. It's okay to speak out. In fact, it's necessary that we speak out. Back in the 1970s, the stigma associated with seeking help was so strong that even though I had full medical benefits, I never once submitted an insurance claim. I paid for my therapy in cash. I didn't want anyone to know the darkness that I was moving through. We've made great progress since then, and we need to make sure that everyone knows it's okay to seek help. Because when people get the help they need, they find healing and they're able to contribute to society. By being here this morning, all of you are helping to communicate that message. The week I turned 28 years of age, I met Jolene. And it wasn't long before we were married. Jolene loved me and taught me how to love. She walked with me through personal growth, showing me how to forgive others and myself. She offered patience, tenderness, and forgiveness. We made a home, and we have a strong family today with 3 daughters and 2 granddaughters, and in September, we'll celebrate 37 years of marriage. Thank you, Jolene. In my work today, I'm frequently reminded that I wasn't the only kid to grow up scared. When I hear about trafficked children, or teenage moms in crisis, or kids who can't learn in school because of the chaos at home, I want with every fiber of my being to intervene and make it better. And as a city, we can and we must. It breaks my heart that we utterly fail so many people dealing with sexual assault. And if you were to talk with Mary Ellen and hear the stories of the people they have to turn away because of a lack of resources, you would understand. I can stand here this morning and tell you that it's possible to break the terrifying grip of trauma, to face it head on, and to find healing. This is the good work, the vital work that KSARC does day in and day out. So as survivors, the truth is we are not alone. In our courage to be vulnerable, we find strength. We find ourselves, our truth selves, and we find others like you who lend support. And that's why it's so important that we stand up and be loud. Last year at this breakfast, I was deeply moved by the number of people who stood up if they knew someone affected by sexual assault. It was a powerful demonstration of caring and support. Again, this year, we want to give you the opportunity to be heard. If you know someone who has been affected by sexual assault, a friend, a family member, a neighbor, a colleague, someone affected by sexual assault, will you please join me in standing to honor him or her? I'm standing with you. It's very important that we stand united against sexual assault. And our simple act of standing this morning is showing our unity, our understanding, and our support. Look around. There's about 1,000 people in this room this morning, and we are being loud against sexual assault. Thank you. Please be seated. You've heard some personal stories this morning and some facts about KSARC's work. I want to ask you to join me in supporting KSARC and the many women and men, boys and girls who every day are helped by this very important organization. Together, we have the privilege of unlocking the grace of giving by opening our hearts, of extending ourselves through our financial giving to help another person. So grab an envelope and give with a grateful heart. Give for people like Melissa, like me, and most importantly, give for the next person who will need the services of KSARC. I know very well how your gift will help. Believe me, I do. I'm standing here today because nearly 40 years ago, I was able to receive the professional therapy that I needed to defeat the stigma and defeat the pain and horror of sexual assault. Let's make certain that no one is ever turned away from these services. Thank you very much.
going to give you a couple minutes just to keep writing here. And a moment to reflect on Tim's story and Melissa's story. And thank you, Tim, for sharing your story. And I thank all of you for what you just did, making sure that no one is ever turned away. That's important. You are joining us in community, and you're going to go and leave this room and be loud. And with that, let's raise the roof, be loud, make sure you have your button on. I've got to get mine. And take that feeling with you into the rest of your day. And we will see you again next year. Thanks, everyone.